am excited to just share with you guys some tips and tricks that I have learned along the way. So, just a little background on finances for me personally. It was about 2015. That year I was supposed to be graduating from college, and I felt like I had no idea where I was going in life, and I was like, have no idea how to manage my money. And so I just felt a little bit like of this urge to start learning about finances, because if you have been to college, you know they don't really teach you about finances. You have to take all these prereq courses and whatnot, and none of them are just about the basics of finances. And so if you're a young adult and you just got out of college, or you're still in college and you're just like, what am I going to do with my life when I get done? I just want to share with you some tricks that I've learned. So I went through the Dave Ramsey financial freedom course right after college. So I had the opportunity, as I told y'all, I was eager to learn more about finances. So I actually up and moved to Colorado after college, and I worked at a ski resort, and I was making $10 an hour. So I wasn't making much, but I was living and I was having fun. But I had a lot of debt under my belt, and I wasn't even able to start paying on the student loans that I had taken out. And so that year at the church that I was going to, they offered the Dave Ramsey course, and they actually paid the $100 to get the kit and everything, because it just sounds kind of funny, like, oh, I'm trying to get out of debt, but here I have to pay more money to try to take this course. And so it was a blessing. But I am going to share with you just basic tips on what I do and what Josh and I have started implementing. But I've been saving money since I got out of college, really. Well, I guess after I got back from Colorado, I had my fun. Then I came back and it was time to get serious and get a job. And so I started teaching, and my first job out of college as a real career, I was not making very much money. And I was like, what the heck? Like, I spent 4 years to get a good degree to where I would have a good job and make a lot of money. That's what they tell you. Like, go to college, you'll make a lot of money. Well, for some people, maybe that's true, but not for everybody. And a lot of my friends know that. And a lot of my friends who went to college with me see that we all started in our careers, and then maybe we had a turn and we didn't like our career anymore. Or maybe we didn't even use our degree. And so here we are with a lot of debt, and we're like, what the heck am I doing with my life? I don't like my job, and I'm not making much money. So even if you're not making much money, like I said, I started implementing this when I was making like maybe $20,000 all year. And I'm serious, like that was my first job. And even now, I don't make a ton, but we are able to pay off a lot of debt just by doing these things. So let's talk about budgeting really quickly. And I'm going to be looking at my computer screen because I have some notes. But what we do is we basically wrote out all of our bills, like for an entire month. We wrote out all the bills that we would need to do. And then we added like obligatory things like monthly things like gas, groceries, and we set a set number for those. So for us, especially with gas being cheaper right now, gas for both of us for a month, for every 2 weeks, we go off of every 2 weeks, but it's only like $75. And then for groceries, we set a number based on about how much we spent. We just try to kind of keep it one basic number, because I'm the grocery shopper, but I found that I was going and buying a lot of extra things we didn't really need. So we do $100 a week, and we do eat pretty healthy, and we are still able to buy our healthy groceries, even though people think eating healthy is expensive. But I do cook a lot, and we do also allow ourselves money to eat out. And so, I mean, I'm just being real with you. These are our numbers right now. And it seems tight. And a lot of people are probably thinking like, well, do you ever get to go out to eat? Do you ever have fun? Do you ever go on vacations? Yes, we do. But we don't go shopping a lot on the internet, especially like me. I mean, we'll buy things from Amazon and things like that every now and then, or buy clothes that we need. But we don't do a lot of excess shopping and things like that. And I'm going to get into more details on that. But we set our amount for eating out, but we also, something we learned from our mentors from when we were getting engaged and getting married. I had some amazing mentors that taught us about finances, but they taught us to have some blow money. So personal money that each of us can spend just on whatever we want, whether it's to go get something at the gas station, to go get a Sonic drink, go get Starbucks, go buy a new shirt, go buy whatever. We found that we were wanting some things, and we wanted to buy extra things that we didn't necessarily need, but we were kind of spending more than we needed to just by swiping our card. And so we each give ourselves $30, which sounds like a little tiny amount, but $30 per paycheck. So that's for 2 weeks. And for us, I feel like, oh, there's a bird outside my window, like chirping right now. And then also, sorry, my dog's behind me snoring. But that doesn't sound like much. But again, we're on the road to financial freedom, but also allowing ourselves some fun money and the ability to go on vacations and stuff like that. So basically, we have all of our bills. We have our obligatory things, gas, groceries, eating out, and blow money. Those are all set numbers. We know it's going to be that number every month. It's all going to be the same. Every 2 weeks when we get paid, it's all going to be the same. Any money that's left over, Dave Ramsey says to assign it to something. Don't just leave $50 in your bank account or $500 in your bank account and not assign it to something. Because if you leave it there, it's just going to get spent, right? And so even if it's not like a top priority necessarily, but it's something you want to do or something you need to save for later. So we are saving right now for a vacation. So we're going to start saving $100 every paycheck and just putting it into savings for our vacation. We put money in our savings for a maintenance fund. So like if our car needed an oil change or air filter change or needed some kind of work. So we put in money every paycheck for maintenance fund. And then we also save money for Christmas because Christmas comes around every year, right? You know it's coming. So we go ahead and save the money for all of our Christmas presents. And that way we're not struggling come November to try to buy the presents. We just take that money out and we buy what we need. And so we kind of calculated out what we would need for Christmas. And so anyways, we do a monthly budget like that. That's like our main template. And then whenever we get paid, which is every 2 weeks for us, I do a more specific budget for that pay period. And so I do, I'll just copy and paste. I have mine typed up in a document. And actually, I'll just kind of I'll show you that real quick it's just an Excel, like Google Doc. Let me turn this around. But basically, like all of our things, I'm being very real and vulnerable right now showing you all this, but just all the things that we have going on and all the things that we save for are all in that document. Oops, let me turn this back around. Okay, and then, so I just use that and I have in my notes my every 2 weeks, like what we have going on that specifically. So basically I can look at when we're getting paid and see like how much of the bills that we can cover until the next pay period. And then also like things that I know that are coming up, like we need a haircut or we have a dentist appointment or we need to save it for an oil change or whatever. Those extra things that we know are coming up, we'll put that in the budget for that 2 weeks. Sometimes random things come up like buying a wedding gift or needing new socks or traveling so you can maybe need more gas money that week. Whatever it is, we can think about like what's going on in the next 2 weeks of our life and we can save for that. So if we know we're going to maybe need to go eat out a little bit more because we've got a busy week, we just put a little bit more back for that. And so that's kind of how we do our budgeting every 2 weeks. Like I said, we have a main template and then we kind of edit it to what we need for what's going on in our life. But we also use a cash system, which Dave Ramsey is a big fan of this. We don't do this for all of our bills. Most of our bills are automated. So like I said, we already know those are going to be like the same every month, right? But for the cash system, we just started using this for groceries, eating out, and our blow money, because those were the three things that we were overspending on. So we felt like we needed to pull out cash for those. So when we get paid, once I do that budget, I go to the bank and I go ahead and pull out the money for groceries, eating out, and our blow money. So that's our free money, basically. Groceries has to stay the same, eating out has to stay the same, and then blow money stays the same. Because that way you physically, you see it leaving your hand. Like if I'm giving someone $20 for our meal or whatever, I physically feel that leaving. And it's a little bit, I don't know, it's harder to let go of your money than like swiping a card. But also whenever you run out, you're just out. So we found that we didn't need to be blowing extra money on the card, swiping and buying extra things here and there. So cash just works better for those things. For gas, we don't really feel like we needed to use cash just because we can kind of keep up with how much we're spending. So like I have my gas number of what we spent or what our limit is or whatever. And as I go get gas, or Josh goes and gets gas, I will just write that or type it in my notes where my budgeting form is or whatever. And I just kind of put in parentheses what we've already spent and what's left. And if, like if I had to go on a trip or something and we needed gas, I'm not just going to be like, well, can't go to work, like I don't have enough gas. So that's one that's a little bit more flexible. But if I need to take more gas money out, then I need to like use less for something else. Just kind of have to balance it out. And so, let's see. Oh, the only bills that we don't have automated are the ones that vary each month, like your gas bill, electric bill, and your water bill. Those vary for us, not by much, but those are the only ones that are not automated. So I physically go in and I do those. Another one that I also do myself each month is tithing. I make sure that I physically go in and do the tithing myself instead of just automating it, because I feel like it's just more meaningful that way. And we all know that the Bible talks about tithing, and that was something that I wanted to start right out of college, like as soon as I started getting paid, because I knew like I would see God's provision if I did that, and not just I didn't just tithe just because like for selfish reasons, because I knew God would bless me, but like I knew that I had nothing without God. Like He gave me the job, He gave me the house, He gave me the car. All of this, the work that we're doing and the money we're making is from God. So giving back that 10% is like nothing really. And so I feel like sometimes I go through phases where I'm like, oh, I really don't want to give this extra, $200, $300 or whatever per paycheck that we're doing, however much that is. I feel like sometimes it is hard to give out that money, but God wants us to give out of the goodness of our heart, not out of obligation. And so He loves a cheerful giver. So that's why I try to like do it physically each month. I'll go online and do the online giving, because if I just did that on auto, I feel like I would almost forget that I'm even tithing, and it's not as meaningful. Now you can do it however you want, but tithing is super, super important. And like I said, we've seen a lot of God's provision by doing that. Like He's going to honor that, and He's going to make sure you have enough. And so like in the Bible, I don't remember where it comes from, but He talks about even the ravens and the birds are fed and they're taken care of. So how much more is God going to take care of us, right? And so, okay, moving on to savings. So, one more thing. If you feel like there are things like your budget is off, like you're spending more than you're making and you're having to use a credit card a lot, maybe look for things that you need to weed out, like Netflix, Spotify, Sirius XM, like any of those subscriptions that aren't like necessary, or maybe you're getting like a little monthly box of goodies for your pet or whatever. They do all those types of things, but maybe you're just spending too much time in Target, or maybe you're going on Amazon too much. Get rid of your Amazon Prime account. I don't know. Think about where you need to weed out some things if you're overspending. Okay, so back to savings. Sorry. So Dave Ramsey suggests that starting out to build a savings to have an emergency fund. And so when I was getting out of college, I wanted to start saving something. So whenever I went through the Dave Ramsey course, he talked about like if you're not making over a certain amount, or you're single, you may not need as much. He said just start with $500. So just start somewhere. If you're not making much, or you have nothing in your savings, which is most of the Americans in the world, then you need to start somewhere. Even if it's just $10 a paycheck, put it in a savings account. So if you don't have a savings account opened up yet, I highly recommend that you start, because anything could happen. Car crash, whatever. Hospital bills all of a sudden, so your air conditioner could go out. You guys know things happen, life happens. So Dave says that 1,000 is a good number to start with, because usually that can cover things, or like if you have a deductible to meet, sometimes those are around 1,000. So at least you have something to give towards that. So it's just a good lump sum. Now, this is not something that you want to really have to use ever. Like, you're not going to really dip into that savings and that $1,000 emergency fund unless it's an absolute must. So like if I did have a car crash come up, but I'm able to still pay for it with what I'm making, I'm going to try to cover as much as I can with that money that I'm making. I'm going to, last resort, go into that $1,000 savings, because I've actually been there. I had at one point $3,000 saved up before we got married, and then I had a lot of car trouble, and I had to basically like, it's all gone, like it was gone. So we had to start over when we got married, and we had like nothing in our savings. And so now we have about $2,000 for an emergency fund, but we also, like I said, we save for other things. We have our maintenance, our Christmas, we have a vacation fund. When we get our taxes back, we put that into our savings, and then we kind of look to see where we want to spend that on, or what we need to put that towards, like debt or whatever. And then this year we were able to buy a new mattress, a nice king bed. We were able to, we're getting new countertops. Like we're being wise with that money. We're not just like going shopping all of a sudden and spending it on a bunch of stuff we don't need. Okay, if you do have to dip into your savings, like I said I did, I spent like all of mine. What you want to start doing is immediately start paying yourself back. So once you've gotten whatever that emergency was done and paid for, then you're still getting paid for your job, hopefully, right? So you can start saving again each paycheck or each month and putting more back into that savings and building it back up. So you're paying yourself back for what you spent. Instead of paying a credit card bill and getting interest, you're paying yourself back, and you didn't have to take out interest. Hopefully that's the goal. Now, let's see. So talking about credit cards, Dave Ramsey does talk about not using credit cards, but credit can be a good thing. You do want some credit, but that doesn't mean to go out and use a credit card for everything, okay? Unless you just have enough money to pay for that, like each month. I'm sure you've heard this before, but if you can't pay off your credit card that month, then you're overspending. You don't want to have thousands and thousands of dollars on a credit card, because that in turn, the interest is like ridiculous on credit cards. And so you kind of get to the point where you're just swimming in debt and you can't get out, like you're drowning. And so you want to build credit with things like your college debt payments or car payments or house payments. Now, talking about car payments, we just had to buy a new car because of all my car trouble I was having. And when we were looking for a car, we had a certain number of our monthly payment that we wanted to stick with, and we got that number based off of 2 debts that we had paid off. So we had paid off these 2 debts, and what we were using for those 2 debt payments each month, we now use for our car payment. And I'm going to talk about that in just a minute, the debt snowball effect. But so credit is not necessarily a bad thing, and you do need it to buy big things like houses and cars, but you just don't want to live off of credit cards all the time, especially if you don't have the discipline. I feel like I have the discipline. Like, I've got a few credit cards, and occasionally we'll use them only if we know we already have that amount of money in our checking account and we can go back and pay it back the next month immediately without getting any interest or anything. But we try not to use them at all. And Josh had one credit card before we got married, and it had several thousands of dollars, and we've paid it off now, and we just cut that sucker up, and we just haven't looked back since. Because he will tell you he does not have the control to use credit cards, the self-control. So, okay, so talking about debt snowball real quick. So a debt snowball, basically, it's the snowball effect, because if you've ever made a snowball and you roll it in the snow, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, right? Like if you're building a snowman. So what you do is you decide on an amount that you can give to your debt that's in excess each month. So like I told you guys, think about your budget, all your bills that you have, all your other necessities that you have, and then see what extra money you could give toward your debt, okay? We started out, I think, with like $50. We were just doing $50 extra a month towards one debt. Maybe it's $100, whatever it is. Think of a number based on your budgeting and what you're making. And I know this is harder when you make different amounts, like maybe your paycheck varies. Ours are now just the same every month, so it's kind of nice. But when it varies, I know it's kind of hard to budget, but you just have to, like I said, you have to do your budget every couple weeks or every paycheck or whatever, just kind of adjust it as needed. But decide on an amount that you can give in excess. So Dave Ramsey says to start with your smallest debts. The reason why is because you'll most likely feel good when you start paying them off, and you'll want to continue the process. Smarter would probably be to start with the ones with the highest interest, just because the long term that collects more interest, right? But for us, we have started with a couple smaller debts, and it's felt amazing to pay off those debts. So once you pay off one or two, then you feel good and you're like, oh, I'm going to keep going. We're just going to keep building that snowball. It's going to get bigger and bigger. So basically, let's say, let me try to figure out where I'm at on my notes here because I'm getting off on a tangent. But let me see. Okay, so let's say you're targeting a loan. Maybe it's a student loan. Maybe it's a credit card debt. You're going to target that loan, and you're going to keep paying all of your minimum payments on all your debts, okay? Don't stop paying on your debts. Keep paying those minimum payments. Those are essential bills. Those should be in your mandatory bills budget, okay? Now, once you have targeted a loan, let's say you have a minimum payment on that loan of $50. Let's say that's my minimum payment for that loan. Well, if my debt snowball number that I've given myself is $100, then I am going to pay on that loan $150 each month until I've paid it all off. Now remember, I'm still paying all my other debts, all my minimum payments, keeping those the same. But I'm focused on this one target loan, and I'm paying $150 each month until it's paid off, okay? Once that one gets paid off, woo, we celebrate. Yeah. Now you have $150 to debt snowball to the next targeted loan. So now, let's say the next loan, its minimum payment is $25 a month, and I've still been paying on that one $25 every month. But now that that other loan is paid off, I can take that $100 and that $50 payment, combine that with the $25 minimum payment on this new target loan. Now I'm paying $175 on this loan until it's paid off. So do you kind of see where it's going? So it just builds. Like once you pay one debt off, you take all that money you were paying on it and take it to the next targeted loan. Once that targeted loan is paid off, you take that $175 that you're at now, move it to the next targeted loan. Okay, so if you want, I have an Excel sheet that is called the Debt Snowball Calculator, and let me just pull that up and show y'all. But I can send you this. This was from Dave Ramsey, I believe. Josh found it, but basically it shows you can put in your smallest debt, start with your loans, the balance, and it calculates out based on the interest rate and then what your minimum payment is and then what your monthly extra like debt snowball is right here at the top. So basically it calculates out how long each loan would take to get paid off, and it's pretty cool. So we actually have one that's filled out, and we kind of update it every now and then. Like if we pay off a debt or something, we'll update it. But it's pretty cool to see your debts get paid off, and at first it can be a little frightening to see all that debt in one document, but it's good to get it all written out or typed up so you're aware of what all those debts are, and then you can target specific ones. Okay, so that is Debt Snowball, and if you need more information or want that document, you can comment, let me know. Now a few other random little tidbits and then we'll wrap it up. I said this earlier, but if you have trouble with spending too much money or you're dependent on credit cards, then just quit online shopping. Quit browsing on the internet, okay? I have personally had to stop looking at stuff like that unless it's something I really need. I don't just browse on Target.com or Amazon or anything because I will be like, oh, I want this, I need this. And then unless I've given myself like some spending money or blow money that I just need to use, I don't go into stores much and just browse. Like yesterday, I went into TJ Maxx because I haven't been in months, and I found 3 things that I wanted to buy. I didn't really need them, but I was like texting Josh like, hey, can I get this stuff? And that's example A, guys. Now, the only reason I did buy that stuff was because I've been selling some stuff online, and so I used that money to buy that stuff. But That's my point. I can't go in stores without buying something, especially TJ Maxx. So avoid the stores if you have to. Also, I don't shop for expensive brands or boutique clothing often at all, hardly, because I realize now as I'm older that crap doesn't matter. Okay? I get that you want to have high quality clothes and you want clothes that last, but let's be honest, every few years you're going to throw your clothes out and get new ones because you're trying to stay up with the latest trends. That's not important, okay? If you're swimming in debt, it's more important that you just have some clothes off the shirt of your back. You know, like it's fine. Like this shirt was given to me by a friend. The leggings that I'm wearing were like $5 from Sam's Club. Okay, so I don't buy expensive Lululemon clothes because I don't have that extra money. And to me, that's just silly. When I have tons of debt, I could be using that $100 for. Okay. Another thing I had to do personally was unsubscribe to certain emails. Like Old Navy was always sending me emails about sales. And that's just marketing. Like, those clothes aren't really on sale. They just make it look like they're on sale. That's probably about the value you should pay for them anyways, you know? And so, anyways, I'm going on a tangent about that, but unsubscribe from those emails if you're getting emails about sales all the time, because that's what they want. They want you to click and be like, oh, but it's only $25. Oh, it's buy one, get one free, so I need it. No, you don't. Okay, and then the other thing I was going to say, just to kind of close it up, is Dave Ramsey has a quote. He says, live like no one else right now so that you can live like no one else later. So I'm living like no one else, okay? I'm not buying the expensive clothes. I'm not going on all the trips. I am not having kids right now. I'm not doing a lot of things that is the norm for my age. But the reason why is because we're trying to live like no one else right now so that we can live like no one else later. We want to be financially free and have zero debt. And not really counting a mortgage because that's probably going to be there for a while, but talking about my student loan debt and credit card debt and things like that, we're trying to get all that paid off so that when we are getting paid, that's our money. We don't have to worry about it. We don't have to be a slave to our debt. And so that's Dave's quote that I often remind myself of whenever I'm comparing myself to others and be like, well, she got a new this, or they had a baby, or they did this. Well, we're not doing those things because we are going to wait until we can be financially stable and feel good about it. So another thing is, like, I still want to be able to go on vacation. I still want to eat well and live well. So I'm not going to deprive myself of everything. I just don't go crazy and blow all my money. Live within your means, okay? Like I said, we still go on vacations. We save for them so that we can pay cash and we don't have to take out credit card debt or anything for that. We still go out to eat. We just put a limit on how much we spend for that. We still live well. I mean, we're still doing pretty good. We're just very frugal. And I mean, a lot of people know me as like that cheap girl. Like growing up in high school, that's how my parents were. We were all pretty cheap. We bought everything like great value, everything just like generic brands. We didn't shop expensive. We had 4 kids in our family, so we had to live frugally. But I am so thankful that I was brought up that way, because I don't care if I'm known as the cheapo or whatever. Like, I don't care. Because one day I'm going to be financially free and I'm going to just be eating it up when I've got all this money and I don't have to pay on credit card debt or anything. So my mom also said this to me when I was getting my first job and I wasn't making much money. She said, look, Rachel, no matter how much money you have, you're going to spend it, right? So if you make more money, you're going to spend more money, right? So just be content with what you have and be a good steward of that, and God's going to provide, okay? So I often feel like kind of bummed out when I see like what my other friends might be making or what their houses are like or what their cars are like or whatever. I get caught up in that comparison, but I have to remind myself, like, no matter how much money I make, I'm probably going to spend it all either way. So I just need to be frugal with what I have now, be a good steward of what I've been given now, and hopefully that will pay off one day. Okay, and so I don't know if you guys saw the picture that I posted about how much debt we have paid off since we got married, but we got married in October of 2018, so it's been about a year and a half, and so far we've paid off a $1,500 bill that was for dental stuff that I had to have done. So we had to take out like a little credit card thing for that, and we paid that off. Hopefully my teeth are done for with all that junk. We paid off $5,000 so far of my loans just in the last year and a half. We've actually paid off 2 out of the 5. I have 5 like little individual loans, and so we paid off two out of the 5, which was nice. And then we paid off my old car, my Subaru. We paid off, that was like $4,000, just a small loan I had taken out for that. And that's how we were able to like buy the new vehicle. And then, so what we did was we combined actually the dental bill that we were paying every month and then the bill that we were paying for my old car. We combined those, and then we were able to buy a new car because that was a necessity. We really needed a new car. So, and then we paid off Josh's credit card that he had before we got married. That was like $1,500. And then on his loans, we have continued to just pay the minimum payments, but they're pretty high, and we've paid off $9,000 on his loans. But y'all better go get him because he has a lot of debt from his student loans and no college degree to show for it. So there you have that. And then we've also just been paying on our mortgage, and we're so glad that we invested in a house because we were paying almost what we pay for our mortgage in renting, and to me that's just throwing away money. So we've paid off $13,000 for our mortgage so far, which isn't much, but we've only had the house for a year. And so it just feels good to know that we're investing that money in buying a house, because basically when you have a house, you know, you're putting that money, it is a payment, but it's basically you're paying yourself, because eventually you're going to be able to sell that house and all that money is yours and you can put it toward the next house or whatever, you know. So anyways, if you are on the fence about like buying a house, if you have the means, I suggest you really look into it. And if you need help with that, totally reach out to me, because I mean, we learned a lot in buying our first house, but we had a really good financial or mortgage loan officer who helped kind of explain it all to us, and it was really helpful. But I just feel like it's smarter in the long run, if you can afford a mortgage payment, to do that rather than throwing away money on rent every month. And so anyways, I'm just about done here, but if you guys have any questions or you need help budgeting or whatever, honestly, like, this kind of excites me. I'm kind of a nerd with this. I do our budget every month, and Josh loves it because he doesn't have to think about it. But I love it because, I don't know, I just love seeing the fruit of our labor and seeing where it's going. And so just remember to budget, start your debt snowball, start saving, have an emergency fund, and just be wise and live within your means, okay? So anyways, hope you all have enjoyed this video. I just did it because, like I said, I'm passionate about this and I want to help other people, because I had no clue what I was doing when I got out of college as far as finances go, and I feel like I've just learned a lot, so I wanted to share that news. So anyway, have a great day, guys.